Welcome to a few ideas about solving conflicts. The quality in conflict is on 3 levels: self-confident, respectful and open to solutions. If we manage to live all those 3 together, we have a balance between the 2 people involved in a conflict, or the 2 parties, me and you, and we look at the situation. We don't forget about the situation where we want to have a solution. Situation, fact, one person and the other person. The question may be, what is a conflict? When do we talk about conflict? And the most simple definition is a conflict means that 2 people have different goals. Me having goal B, you having goal A. And we have the impression, we feel, that your goal hinders me from getting what I want. And it's important to look at conflicts the way that this is just an impression, an idea, a thought. A conflict means assuming that we are hindered. It doesn't mean that we are really hindered. Very often we find solutions where we see that we are not hindered in getting what we want, maybe not the first way we thought about it. Maybe we have to accept some changes, but very often we see that we can get what we want. I'll tell you an example. 2 friends of mine were in a holiday and they had a quarrel every day about how to spend the day. One person wanted to have an active day, going out for trips and doing sports and lots of program, and the other person wanted to have a very quiet holiday, just relaxing, just lying down, going to have a coffee, to eat and all that. And they couldn't solve that. They separated after a holiday. And I know another couple who have exactly the same situation. One of them wanting a very active holiday, sports, getting up early. The other person wanting a very calm holiday, quiet, not doing much. And they don't even realize that they're having conflict. They find solutions. They do things together. One day one person goes with the other day they change, and the other person accepts a program that is not originally hers or his. And so they manage to work with the solution, with the situation. Handling conflicts is a contribution to the quality of our relationships. If we manage to solve our conflicts well, that improves the relationship. We feel related to one another even more after having solved the conflict well. And the other thing is that handling conflict improves our self-respect. We get the feeling that we can manage challenges, and certainly conflicts challenge us. I'll give you a few ideas how conflicts challenge us. It's part of our nature, actually. First thing is the perception. Humans don't perceive the reality the way it is. We construct something. We relate to the things we see and hear. We can never see them objectively. I'll give you an example about that. If we look at this, we all tend to see a face, maybe even some kind of certain mood. Well, This is what our brain does. The face is not here. It's just a few lines and dots on a piece of paper. But we relate to it and we make it a face. So in conflicts we have the problem that we don't see the reality the way it is, but we make something out of it. We construct our own reality. If we are in stress, this is even worse. Stress distorts us. So we get maybe a wrong idea about the reality. The more stress, the more our perception is influenced. It's never objective anyway, and there it's more focused on details which we choose, and we don't see the whole thing. Third challenge. In our mind we have very old forms of communication. We were treated by our parents, by other important people in our childhood. We had a lot of people who influenced us, and we sort of follow these programs unconsciously. The harder the conflict, the more we get involved and emotionally, the more we tend to do the things in a way which we have learned very long ago. So we get angry without having control of it, or we tend to flee or to ignore things just not to have a problem, and all those forms of inconstructive ways of dealing with the conflict. Fourth challenge, psychological wounds. We all had the experience of conflicts which were not solved well, that we were hurt by other people. And if we have a situation which somehow reminds us of what we have suffered from, that unconsciously may come up and also hinders us from being constructive, from talking about it freely, from our self-confidence and also of being respectful. Another challenge in conflicts, which is the archetypes of fighting or fleeing, and maybe also of pretending to be dead. These are archetypes of behavior from the nature, and also humans have the instinct to fight or flee in a conflict. So if a conflict escalates very much, we have the tendency that we fight the other party of the conflict, the other person, like an enemy. And we don't work on solutions, we have the idea of winning or losing. That's one step of escalation. If the conflict goes on to escalate, we get the idea of using violence to harm the other person. And if a conflict escalates even more, we may even think of damaging the other person in a way which also harms ourselves. So the worst escalation is that we try to kill the other person, no matter whether we are killed too. So in our instincts we have a biological program which doesn't really help us usually to solve a social conflict. In our soul we also are Stone Age people. So managers, the psychologists, the leaders tend to act ineffectively in conflicts if they get very emotionally, if the conflict escalates a lot, if it touches them personally. I'll give you one example again about such a fantasy of escalation. A man and a woman were going by car together. They got into a bad quarrel, got very emotional, and the person driving said, "If you don't shut up immediately, I'll crash against the next tree." So what happens in the mind of this person? She has the idea of the worst discoloration. Just to stop the other person from talking, she would crash everything, worst level of violence. If we realize that we get into such an escalation, having thoughts like that, or realizing that the other person is being drawn into that kind of escalation, there only helps one thing, really: stop. Stop means to get out of the escalation, to calm down, to take time, to start again, to invite the other person to a constructive talk, to get out of all this draft towards escalation and violence. So the first thing very often in a conflict is to let go the emotions, to calm down, to take time. Take your time, don't react too fast with your emotion. The second step to solution is to open the ears. Ears open, try to understand the other person. Try to connect to the other person, to give the person or the other party the feeling that you want to solve the conflict together. Show respect. Next step, ask for what you want. Express your needs clearly. Be ready to explain what you want and why you want it. And ask the other person so the other person feels asked. Say please instead of feeling attacked or antagonized. If we feel antagonized, it's very much more likely that we get emotional and escalate the conflict. Ask, say please. Next step, run through lots of creative ideas. Ideal is to do it together, to think, okay, what idea have we got to solve the conflict? What can we do about it? What's good for you and good for me? So maybe you get quite a few ideas what you could do together to solve the situation. The last step is to negotiate, to choose what's fair to both. For your needs, for my needs, for what is your aim, for what is my aim. And the ideal solution is that both people have the feeling of winning something, of getting something new, what they need. So that's the 5 steps to solve conflicts and to get out of the escalation. And I'm playing with words here. Let emotions go, L. Ears open, E. Ask, say please about your needs, A. R. Run through lots of creative ideas, and N. Negotiate to choose what's fair to both. Learn to solve conflicts. We don't have too many good examples at an average about how to solve conflicts well, and it's maybe very hard work to change behavior and to work on your own communication, on your behavior in conflict situations, to contribute to a good solution, to take the chance that you have a fair solution to both people. We don't have it all in our hands. It always needs 2 people or 2 parties. But this way you get a chance to contribute to a good solution. So I wish you all the best for conflicts, and maybe one of the ideas helps you in such a way that you even say, oh, it can be a good thing to have a conflict. We learn something, we get to relate to one another, and in the end we have a good solution for both of us. So all the best.